You're acting as if I'm entering every scenario with the full me, and we all, every time someone meets someone, you're
Right.
meeting their representative. I know how to turn on the perfect man.
Yeah, depending
And
on
so
the person,
therefore I
yeah.
may have manipulated a situation,
Right.
and therefore so it's to no discredit to
Yeah,
anyone
yeah, yeah,
else,
I
but
got you.
I've come into every situation. I can be God-fearing, celibate, the one
Right,
that you
right,
want. I can
right,
tell you everything that you want in a
right,
man and show you that. I can
right.
open the doors, lay down the cloak, send the jet, do it all to be like, oh my goodness, no, I've
But
never. And then Toxic Nick shows
but
up,
look at
and
what
you
you
like,
just,
this
but
motherfucker got me.
no, but
He
what
done
you
gave
said
me
is
the
perfect.
draws, and I ain't heard from him in 3 weeks.
What you said is perfect. No, what you said is perfect because you named all of the low functioning, superficial things that a low functioning woman would fall into.
Church?
Women,
That
baby,
ain't low functioning.
baby, any woman,
We going to see the Lord together.
any woman or man,
Or the mosque, wherever you want to go. I know them both.
any person who's done the work, who gained a sense of self, who's worked on their pain pockets, who's worked on their trauma,
Are still going to
who's
be
worked
vulnerable.
on who they're going to be vulnerable.
They
They're going to
still
hold on.
gonna yearn.
They're going to
And late at night when
be
you're sleeping
imperfect.
alone, you gonna
No,
go, I wish I had a strong man to
they're going
rub
to
my
be
back.
imperfect, but that person would want a strong, healthy, functioning man, not a low
Sometimes it
functioning
just
man.
be a nigga with some good hands.
Not a low functioning man. No, that's what I'm saying is
But
the difference. But
every woman, you can't,
But
Doc, you can't sit here and say that.
but you're speaking from
Even
your
at the
experience, which makes it
highest
better.
I'm saying,
Because your experience of these women is that they fall short for a jet and a good meal and a good man who says he goes
and
to
some
church.
strong
A
hands.
and let me go further, and probably a big penis. So, okay,
You said it, not
so
me.
let me go. But again, a high functioning. I'm not even talking about value. A high functioning woman who's done the work.
Explain this. I'm trying to hear what this high functioning woman is.
But a high functioning woman, you cannot send a jet and be toxic, and she will go on the.
She don't know I'm toxic yet.
A high functioning woman wouldn't even attract you, baby. Because it's law of attraction. Stick with me. Just stick with me.
Please explain this.
Nick, regulate your emotions and stick with me. Regulate your emotions and stick with me. I'm trying to hear you. Listen.
I'm having a hard time to believe a very educated, a very attractive woman out of 41 years have not met Mr. Right. Mm-hmm. That's enough time to find a lot of things out.
I bet.
And yet, no kids, single. I'm not, but I am saying, are women's expectations unrealistic?
No, I'm going to say, like I said on Nick, the question shouldn't be why isn't a woman of age, of success, of a certain caliber not married with kids? The question should be why are people rushing to the altar just to become divorcees or baby mamas and baby daddies? I think if anything, we need to be teaching our society, take your time, young man or young woman, so that you can get to know not just this person, but yourself first, so that you can choose a life partner, not that that person isn't exempt to divorce, instead of rushing to the altar just to become a divorcee or a baby mama and have multiple kids by multiple women, just to say you have broken families everywhere. I don't see no benefit in that. I believe, like I tell my brother, he's in here, Shane, all the time, and who's 31 with no kids and doing well for himself, take your time. You don't need to rush to an altar just to divorce this woman. And another thing is people who actually feel high valued within themselves, not financially, internally they feel high valued. They're not rushing to have a wife or a husband at the expense of divorce just to feel like they've added value to themselves. Because it's a deficit if you're marrying for the wrong purposes. It is an asset if you're marrying from a place of creating a family, of creating stability, of raising kids who can see this thing move and this house not be homeless, but this house have wealth in it, the real wealth that actually sustains. And so for me, I'd rather take my time choosing than end up doing time because I'm making wrong decisions. I'm good.
You know, the woman you see here is Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. She has a YouTube show. All right, I think it's called Council Culture. All right, and she's been making the rounds, going viral for her interactions with Nick Cannon, who was an industry plant and an op. and Cam Newton and shit of all people. Okay, she's made some declarative statements, and well, obviously I find offense with it. Otherwise, the video that you're listening to now wouldn't exist or whatnot. I get so tired of these what I like to call psyops and shit. And I think this particular branch of that tree, belongs, as far as I'm concerned, to that. It goes, as far as I'm concerned, back to that therapist, Shabria Rolls. With the bullshit. I mean, as an oppressed counterculture within my own fucking gender, uh, I feel that black men, the second-class citizens in their own ethnicity and shit, are continually abused on a daily basis. They seem to want to reinforce this on a 24-hour basis and whatnot. I think that a subset of us have stopped listening and whatnot. I think that's the solution to the problem in the long term, is to stop listening, and secondly, to stop interacting with these therapists. Okay, I don't care about Nick Cannon's situation or whatnot. He's buffered by a mountain of money bags and shit, as well as Cam Newton and shit. But I find it hilarious that men of distinction that can buy her 10 times over would sit in front of her and listen to this nonsense and shit. It's almost as if you're looking at an instructional about how to submit to, a black woman's authority and shit. And I fight against that, because we've had several generations of their leadership in this supposed community, and look at the condition of it today. Right? That is damning and shit, as far as I'm concerned. There's nothing that Dr. Cheyenne Bryant can tell me, that, can't be refuted by simply looking out the fucking window in a certain location. Right? Until a black woman is willing to, one of these accredited scholars, until she's willing to plain and simply explain to me why our community is in this, the state that it's in, then, honestly and truthfully, then, really what she has to say is pretty much she's shouting into an echo chamber and shit. I don't feel like a lot of these women that we see, these supposed scholars and, therapists and, whatever, with all their degrees and all this bullshit, I don't feel like they have our best interest at heart. Okay? It's akin to, all these ads that you see on YouTube, these PSYOP ads where, for this thing called Hims, where they're selling you Viagra, shit to stop hair loss and to promote weight loss. And, it's just weird shit. It's like that fucking movie They Live, where they're telling you to be happy and procreate or something, And when I listened to her talking to Cam Newton, to me, it was like her telling him, hey, don't trust your intuition. Let your guard down and just marry one of us and shit, so that we can take half of your wealth, if not more, and abuse you in perpetuity and shit with government backing. Okay? There is no way in the hell that a man of his substantial wealth and, his achievements should be sitting up listening to this woman and shit, unless he's in a severely distressed mental state and whatnot. And I would advise you to talk to a male therapist. Why can't he sit there with another man? You don't see black women, ripping each other apart on these podcasts and these panels and shit. They're big upping each other no matter what they do. Okay? One of my biggest pet peeves with a certain group is how they, looked the other way when that woman faked her kidnapping and shit. And they didn't really talk about the woman that tried to burn down Martin Luther King's, childhood home and shit. They always looked the other way. They always rug sweep everything. That is one of the true signs of narcissism and whatnot. And when she was explaining her viewpoint on things, it was just boasting. That's all it was and whatnot. I went to social media and, probably ill-advisedly, and you just saw a bunch of black women waving their dirty panties around and shit like they were at a playoff game, simply because she was able to sit in front of these men and espouse her narcissist beliefs, flex her misandric muscles and whatnot. I don't think that she's telling them anything that's helpful to them at all. You know, Nick Cannon just simply has to make sure he's in constant contact with his accountant and shit so they can pay all these babies' mamas that he got and shit. And I told you how I feel about Nick Cannon. I hate talking about this motherfucker because he's an op and shit. And I've received at least 4 strikes across multiple channels for making videos about him and had the videos, at least 2 videos pulled before they were even aired. You know, where I called him the patsy. Right? Cam Newton, some weird fucking clothes, bro. But, you know, I respect his tenure as an athlete. And I don't really follow him outside of his career. You know, if I even did that, you know, I just, you know, I don't understand it or whatnot. I feel like I'm looking at an instructional for how to let people mind fuck you. Okay, they don't want you to be free thinking. Okay, they don't want that. Okay, because it's, you know, you're mucking up the system and shit. Okay, you don't want to be a small cog in a big machine anymore because it's, you know, it's a bad faith deal and shit. And what she was telling Cam Newton was that, you know, by having these children with these multiple women, that he was creating broken families. She was laying all the blame on him when women initiate the exorbitant, the majority of divorces in the West. Okay? I didn't hear her acknowledge that women initiate most of the divorces, and I wouldn't want to hear it because she would find a way to drape the blame across Cam Newton's shoulders and whatnot for, you know, women that made decisions that, you know, they thought benefited them and shit. You know, he's obviously paying for his children and whatnot. Can't get out of that once they ship one out for you. Okay, excuse my anarchist misogyny and shit, but you know, if you were sitting in a seat I'm sitting at looking at this bullshit, how else would you be able to respond? Okay, they stay on this narrative that black men are creating babies' mamas, i.e., broken homes and shit, when these women initiate these divorces and they pursue men and try to baby trap them a lot of times. You have a body autonomy and shit. You don't listen to this narrative they put out in an election year, okay? Women can choose to use multiple forms of birth control or just, you know, have chastity and shit. But, you know, if they don't give up the box, then 9 times out of 10, they're not getting shit. Okay? They already getting pennies on the dollars from simps and white knights. They all want a Cam Newton and shit, but they don't deserve a fucking Cam Newton and shit. There's not many women that deserve him. You know, I'm talking about his fiscal, you know, persona and shit. You know, his checkbook. They don't care about Cam. All right, none of these hoes care about Cam. What they care about is getting you know, the black community's version of an anchor baby. It's an economic baby and shit. You know, and sometimes I call it a golden parachute baby. They get that baby, and then it's all bets is off and shit. They can take off their mask and, you know, start twerking and shit. When she's talking to Nick Cannon, I just, you know, I couldn't take that serious because he is a goon. He's a class A goon and shit. But, you know, I was offended by Dr. Cheyenne Bryant because, you know, here we have another misandrist, acute misandrist, masquerading, being a chameleon, basically, you know, and talking to black men and shit. I can't take that serious. Don't take anyone that's talking to these celebrities serious and shit, because a lot of these guys, they have these huge platforms. They've done some things they're probably not proud of and shit. And they're on the hook to a certain subset of people to appear in these humiliation rituals and shit. And, you know, I hate saying humiliation ritual and shit because, you know, it makes people think I'm wearing some people will call it tinfoil kufi and shit. But, you know, how else are you supposed to look at something like this when you have a woman sitting up talking to multi-millionaires in a disparaging tone, you know? In the disparaging, there's no respect there whatsoever. It's no, I won't go any further, you know, with that, but, you know, black men, we experience this every fucking day. And it's not gonna change and shit until you turn the volume down, okay? Don't engage with misandrists from any walk of life and shit. Okay, just let them talk into the echo chamber. Okay, and I feel like I'm doing the right thing by making these goddamn videos because if I didn't, can you imagine? Can you imagine what they would, what the situation would be? If there wasn't any kind of like, clapback video and shit. Maybe it sounds a little weird, and, kind of like a dog chasing its own tail and shit. But what would you have me do and whatnot? Okay, we heard this woman talk about everything from her perspective, from a black woman's perspective, and cast it in a favorable light. The negative behaviors cast in a favorable light and shit. All right, does it make it any less toxic, or is it softened because of her appearance and whatnot? Okay, is it softened? Is that the reason she got to sit in front of Cam Newton because she looks a certain way? What if she was Big Shirley with a hairy back and dirty knuckles, diabetic kneecaps? Would she still be able to sit in front of Cam Newton and flap her pie hole, or Nick Cannon for that matter? All right. Does she really think that he created a broken home with Mariah Carey and shit, who has substantially more wealth and money than her husband and shit, and is still actively seeking that more tangibles in her mid-50s? All right. What can this woman tell Nick Cannon about anything and shit? He's been in the business for several decades. And Cam Newton, the fucking Hall of Famer and shit. All right, an athletic legend. A man has accomplished much. All right, two men have been around and accomplished much and have the pedigree to show for it and shit. Well, she's sitting in front of them trying to mind fuck each one of these noobs. All right, and this is a larger version of what we face every day in this community. I liken to a petri dish. If anybody doesn't know what that is, that's where they keep like bacteria and shit in these in a lab. It's called a petri dish with a Tupperware lid on it. I know some of you know what Tupperware is. Okay, and I think it's fucked up. I think we need to stop accepting any of their counsel or judgment and whatnot until they are able to explain why the black community looks this way, when the black woman who loves to toot her own horn, who sits at the right hand of the minority majority who run this goddamn country and most of the world, when they sit at the right hand of shit, they're able to see them every day, within is more closer than any black man. Right? Some share a bed with these motherfuckers. And why do our communities look like this? Right? They're the first teachers of the child, but they're raising deficient males. Okay? They're raising criminal-minded males without the benefit of a man, but they expect the men that they supposedly don't want to clean up their mess and whatnot, while they still sit there on their ass, sitting there on their fucking BBL, tooting their own horn and shit. And it reminds me of that old the image of Nero, the Roman emperor, playing a violin while the shit burns down. Kings, keep your head on the swivel. Protect your bag, and above all else, especially in this situation, do not make fallen women the stewards of your family. Don't give them the keys to anything and whatnot, because they're just going to take that shit and lock you out of it. Okay? Do not make fallen women the stewards of your family, especially, and most importantly, do not make them the mothers of your children, or they will raise more males. They're raising their own victims. Don't make fallen women the mothers of your children and shit. Okay? All right? The children are your future, your legacy. Okay? I can't make it any more plain than that and shit. Okay? All right, kings. All praise to the Most High.
The Black Patriarchy. A non-existent group of fictional black male power brokers not discredited, erroneously jailed or outright killed by the minority majority who look the other way as they work tirelessly to shame, oppress, and outright take out the altruistic black female populace of the honorable democratic United States of America. 3K's inset bitches. These evil wealthy members of the black patriarchy are the sole reason for all the ills of the black community, walking, talking, holding down jobs, and doing everything up to and including giving their very lives in service to their baby mamas and baby's motherfucking kids. Their motto that strikes fear into the hearts of black women everywhere: bitches ain't shit but hoes and tricks.